As the Aggies finished spring ball this past weekend, I want to take a few minutes and kind of just recap the spring ball game as far as it relates to how the quarterbacks played, and just kind of recap Jimbo's offense and kind of recap what he expects their quarterbacks or what he expects his quarterbacks to be able to do, and then talk about each quarterback in a bit more detail again, kind of like we've done in the past, just to kind of review, talk about how they played, and then their strengths, and kind of just put that out on the table to see how each guy can fit in Jimbo's offense. So again, we're going to recap the spring game, talk about each guy, but first we're going to start with Jimbo's offense. So before we keep diving into this video, I just want to encourage all to consider subscribing to this channel as we talk about any quarterback-related content, just how any football content in general is fair game here. And I am working on getting a microphone. I know I'm like a year overdue of having a microphone, so someone mentioned that to me, so I am getting that to sound a bit better. But with that said, let's dive into the video. So real quick, just a quick review of Jimbo's offense, of how it relates to the quarterbacks. and a complex offense is something that you've heard several times, or not several times, probably pretty often when talking about Jimbo's offense. But I don't think it's necessarily complex as it is just a lot of information, a lot of different formations. You're going to see multiple personnel and multiple formations, but they do want to take shots deep. It's just having the ability to do that, having the play calling to do that, right? Jimbo asks his quarterbacks to throw guys open a lot, right? It can be tough on a quarterback to have NFL throws time and time after again. So again, it's not necessarily complex. It's just a lot of schemes, a lot of different formations. QBs are asked to throw guys open, not as much scheming guys open to make it a bit easier. Although you have seen that, I think, a bit more maybe this past year. I think they're trying to scheme guys more open. But again, Jimbo's offense asks a lot of the quarterback to know and just be able to execute. So with that being said, let's talk about quarterback Max Johnson. Real quick, let me rewind real quick, and let's talk about all the quarterbacks combined from the spring game. So the quarterbacks from the spring game were 31 of 84, 373 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Let's dive into Max Johnson first, because I think he's got a lot of traits. I'm someone that's probably higher on Max Johnson than other people, at least the people I'm reading about. Excuse me. Just for the simple fact that I think he played pretty damn well for LSU this past year, especially with their run game not being able to do much, not really help the passing game. Teams knew what they were going to do, and he still, I thought, had a pretty good year in the SEC. Very experienced, is able to process a lot of information and do it efficiently. He's seen a lot of different coverages, but even when he was a younger quarterback, or just his true freshman year when he played in those last few games at LSU, you saw him be able to decipher what the defense was doing. So I think that right there fits in well with Jimbo's offense right off the bat, right? Like processing information, having the capacity to understand what the play call is and what Jimbo wants to do against that certain defense. He's also a better athlete than people think. Now, he's not nearly the athlete that Haynes King is, or he's not going to be someone that's going to just crush the RPO. But he is someone who can fit in Jimbo's offense, and he can use his legs to his advantage when need be. So let's talk about this spring game. So Max Johnson was 13 of 31. I think he had a buck 27 or something like that passing. Had 2 touchdowns and led the team in passing touchdowns. One was a 40-yard bomb, I believe. The other one was a little shallower play. So still struggled passing the ball. No quarterback did great, but did show some good things. At one point, he had 6 straight passing completions, or 6 straight completions. So right there is a good sign that he has the ability at least. And again, it's a spring game. Take this all with a grain of salt. Last year, you saw some quarterbacks just kill it in the spring game, and they got benched. And you've also seen quarterbacks be atrocious in the spring game, and they come out and light it up, right? So again, spring game, not great, but he probably had the best performance out of any of the other quarterbacks in the spring game. So again, big takeaways: experience, the ability to process information, and he's a better athlete than people think. Let's talk about quarterback Haynes King, because he probably struggled the most out of all the other quarterbacks for the Aggies. Out of the 4 interceptions, I believe he threw 2 of those 4 interceptions during the spring game. But again, I just want to reiterate, it's a spring game. Take it with a grain of salt. But still, you would have liked to see him play a bit better, this being his 3rd year in the system. So I still think there's some unknown to Haynes King. Obviously, there's a lot of hype last year going into the season, him winning the starting job, him being a highly touted recruit. So before he got hurt, there was a lot of hype. But I think it goes without saying, with these clips we're watching right now, he has all the tools he needs, right? He has a great arm. He can really sling it, and he's a great athlete. What I think he ran a 4.5 or something like that coming to high school, so he could really move, and that could really add another element to the offense if Jimbo wanted to put in some more RPO schemes like he did some with Kellen Mond a few years back, right? To maybe expand the offense a bit more. But still, not a great game. 11 of 33, 2 interceptions, was the only quarterback that did not throw a touchdown. So again, from Haynes King's standpoint, he'd probably be the first to tell you just didn't play very well. But again, I think we're not there behind the scenes. We don't see all the practices. So I think we have to take the spring game as a practice, right? So he had one bad practice, but if he had 10 really good practices and one bad practice, that may still put him in the front potentially of what he did in the actual practices leading up to the spring game. But still, big takeaways. There are some unknowns, but great athlete, has all the tools. He just probably needs more experience and more playing time with him only having, a game and a quarter essentially last year. So let's talk about the young freshman Weigman, right? I think I'm pronouncing that right. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I apologize. But regardless, I think what jumps out is this is pure talent. Talent, talent, talent. That's the one word that comes to mind when watching Weigman. Even though he did struggle at times, he showed that he's a high schooler right now, right? He should still be in high school. So he showed that he was a high schooler, but you still saw flashes of the potential. I think he definitely has the highest ceiling, highest potential. Now, whether that's developed or not, is up to the coaching staff, but he still has the highest ceiling, in my opinion. Very talented guy. Probably the lowest floor as of now. He was 7 of 19, a buck 16 passing, and 1 touchdown. And I think I know I talked about this just a second ago, but remember, he should still be in high school. He looks the part, right? He showed flashes of being just a damn good quarterback, and you can see why people are so excited for him because he's the quarterback of the future. And I do think with more and more experience, he's going to clean up a bunch of things. It's just a matter of when. I don't think it's a matter of is he going to be the guy at some point. I think it's a matter of when, regardless if it's this year or next year. Now, I could be wrong. King or Johnson could just play out of this world and he could have no shot. But let's just say King or Johnson wins. And if they're just playing mediocre or average, Weigman's always going to have a chance, right? So whether it's this year or next year, I do think his time is coming at some point. But again, talented guy, just needs experience, more reps. Again, should still be in high school. So let's keep that in mind. So that's kind of the recap of this spring game real quick. So again, the quarterbacks were, let me find it, 31 of 84, 373 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. It was windy conditions. Jimbo did talk about the wind, but that happens. You still want to have a higher completion percentage than under 50, right? But again, each guy, I think the biggest takeaway is Johnson, experience and processes information well. Haynes King, a great athlete, has all the tools. And then Weigman is someone who is just super, super talented with a very high ceiling, who could really develop and be the guy of the future. But that's the recap of it. We also talked about Jimbo's offense and what the quarterbacks need to do. So I want to hear from y'all. What were y'all thoughts just in general of the quarterback play in the spring game, just in spring in general? Who do you think is going to start off as a QB1 as the season goes? And also, is the person that starts at QB1 at the beginning of the season, is he going to be QB1 at the end of the season? Anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Any questions, any other A&M quarterback videos you want to see, please let us know. And we'll see you next time on the next quarterback-related video.